The courtroom is silent, the air thick with anticipation. The gavel strikes, echoing through the room as the judge's voice rings out. Guilty. Amelia's heart stops, and for a moment, the world seems to blur. She's been wronged her entire life, but now she's just one step away from reclaiming what's hers. The truth has been buried, twisted and manipulated by those in power, but this verdict is only the beginning. Amelia doesn't know what to feel, fear, relief, or anticipation. But in her chest, something else is stirring. A quiet anger, the kind that only comes when justice has been denied for too long. It's time for the truth, she whispers to herself, knowing that once the spark is lit, there's no going back. The fight for justice may have just begun, but this trial isn't over yet. Amelia sits alone in her room, the harsh light from the desk lamp casting deep shadows on her face. The case, the trial, and the verdict, none of it feels real. But the file in front of her, thick with evidence she unearthed, does. She flips through the pages, each one heavier than the last, and comes across a document that makes her pause. A letter, marked with the signature of a politician she never thought she'd connect to this. I knew something was off, Amelia mutters under her breath, but I didn't know it was this deep. As she reads on, the pieces of the puzzle finally start to fall into place. Her world is changing, but so is the truth about her family, her community, and the people who hold the power. The next step becomes clear. Amelia knows she's standing on the edge of something much bigger than herself. She can't back down now. The next morning, Amelia meets with her closest friend, Jared, at a local coffee shop. She slides the file across the table, her eyes scanning his face for any sign of disbelief. I found something big, she says quietly. Jared looks at the documents, his eyes widening as he flips through them. You're telling me this whole thing was orchestrated, and we've been blind to it? Jared asks, his voice laced with disbelief. We're going to expose them, right? He adds, determination flashing in his eyes. Amelia nods slowly, but the uncertainty is still there. We have to. But we need to be careful. There are bigger forces at play here and I can't do this alone. Jared, who has always stood by her side, now steps forward. You're not alone. Whatever comes next, I'm with you. The weight of their decision sets in, but together they know they can take on the corruption. As Amelia and Jared begin to dig deeper, they uncover more secrets, documents hidden in plain sight, phone records that don't add up, and a trail of lies that leads straight to the people in power. But the closer they get to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. One night, as Amelia heads home from their meeting, a car pulls up beside her. Tinted windows roll down, and a voice, familiar and cold, calls out. You're getting too close, Amelia. You don't know who you're messing with. The hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. You don't know what you're up against, a voice continues before the car drives off. Amelia stands frozen, a mix of fear and resolve settling within her. This isn't just about justice anymore. It's about survival, she whispers to herself, knowing that the line between right and wrong is becoming dangerously blurry. In the dead of night, Amelia and Jared break into the local government office to access crucial files. The tension is unbearable as they silently move through the building, the only sound being their breath and the soft creak of the floorboards. This is it, Amelia whispers as she finds the files she's been searching for. But as they try to leave, the door slams shut behind them. Footsteps approach. We're not alone, Jared says, panic creeping into his voice. The sound of keys rattling, and the unmistakable hum of a security system coming online, sends a chill down their spines. Amelia's heart races, and she turns to Jared, her eyes full of determination. We can't get caught. Not now. They sprint through the halls, narrowly avoiding security, adrenaline pumping as they escape. But just as they reach the exit, a figure steps in their way. I think it's time we had a little chat, the figure says, a smirk on their face. Amelia and Jared sit in a small, dimly lit coffee shop, their faces tense as they pore over the documents Amelia uncovered. The weight of their discovery presses down on them like an invisible force. But the door opens, and a familiar face enters, Detective Harris. A former ally, now a reluctant enemy. He hesitates as his eyes fall on Amelia. "I thought you two had given up," Harris says, his voice low, with an underlying sense of caution. Amelia meets his gaze without flinching. "You should have," she replies, "but we found something bigger than we ever thought." Harris's eyes flicker with both recognition and fear. He looks around the room before pulling up a chair. "I've been on the inside for years," he says, "and I can tell you, this goes higher than you think." He pauses, locking eyes with them. "But if you're going after them, you better be prepared, because they will come for you. And they won't stop until you're crushed." Amelia's heart races, but she knows deep down that this is the moment where they either back down or fight for what's right. Harris's words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of what's to come. "We don't plan on backing down," she says quietly, looking at Jared, who nods resolutely. "We'll expose them all." And with that, an uneasy alliance is formed, a temporary truce in a battle that will define their futures. The next few days are a blur of information, strategy, and tension. Amelia and Jared, now working with Harris, begin to trace the connections between the corrupt officials and the politicians they've been investigating. As they dig deeper, they realize just how much danger they're in. Amelia stumbles upon a file with the name of someone she never expected to see. Her own father's name. The documents suggest that he was involved, somehow connected to the very corruption she's been trying to expose. "No," Amelia whispers, running her hand over the page. "This can't be true." Her stomach churns, and her heart skips a beat. Could her father really have been part of this? Was his success built on lies, on the backs of others? Her thoughts spiral out of control. "I need to know the truth," she mutters to herself, shaking her head in disbelief. But that would mean confronting her father, a man she has admired her whole life, someone she never thought could be tainted by the darkness that surrounds their world. Jared notices her silence, and his voice is gentle. "We'll find the truth, Amelia. But we can't do this alone anymore." The danger is mounting, and Amelia knows that confronting her father might be the only way to uncover the whole truth. But the consequences of that action could destroy everything she thought she knew about her family. "If we're going to do this, we need to prepare for the worst," she says, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. The confrontation with her father happens on a rainy evening. The living room is eerily quiet as Amelia waits, her heart pounding in her chest. She can feel the weight of the truth pushing down on her. When her father walks into the room, his face softens upon seeing her, but his eyes hold a glint of worry. "Amelia," he begins, his voice strained, "what's going on?" She holds the file up, her voice trembling but firm. "What is this, Dad? Why is your name on these documents? Why are you involved in this?" He freezes, his face paling as the truth begins to unfold. For the first time, Amelia sees the cracks in the man she's always admired. "It's not what you think," he stammers, taking a step back. "I didn't want you to find out like this." But Amelia's gaze hardens. "I need to know now," she demands. The silence in the room is deafening. And then finally he speaks, confessing a truth he never thought he'd have to share. "I was part of it," he admits. "I thought I was doing the right thing, but I've been caught up in something much bigger than I ever imagined. I didn't want you involved in this." Amelia's mind spins. The betrayal cuts deep, deeper than she could have ever prepared for. "How long have you known?" she asks, her voice low. He doesn't answer immediately. The silence stretches between them, and for a moment, Amelia wonders if she will ever truly know the full extent of her father's involvement. The truth has shattered Amelia's world, but there's no time to grieve. The forces they're up against are more dangerous than they ever imagined, and now, with her father's confession, they are all in deeper. Amelia and Jared meet Harris in a safe house, away from prying eyes. "We need to get ahead of this," Harris says, pacing the small room. "The people behind this will stop at nothing to keep their secrets buried." Amelia takes a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. "So what do we do now?" she asks. "We play their game. Only this time we make sure they lose," Harris replies with a dark smile. But the stakes are higher than ever. Amelia knows that the closer they get to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. She has no choice but to continue pushing forward, but a new fear rises in her chest. What if they don't make it out of this alive? The final piece of the puzzle falls into place when Amelia receives an anonymous tip. The final document, the one that ties everything together, is hidden in plain sight at her father's office. She knows that this is the moment. If they're going to take down the entire network, this is the key. But as they prepare to retrieve it, they realize that someone is already waiting for them. "They knew we were coming," Jared says, his voice shaking. Amelia's heart races as they make their way to her father's office. The door is ajar, and the document is missing. "It's over," she whispers to herself. But just then, a figure steps into the doorway. Someone she never expected to see. The final betrayal comes in the form of someone close to her, someone she trusted. "You've been playing the game all wrong, Amelia," the figure says with a smirk. The storm has begun. As Amelia's revelations start to spread through the media, the repercussions are immediate. News channels, social media platforms, and the public are ablaze with the details of the corruption she uncovered. Headlines scream the truth, and the once protected officials are now under public scrutiny. But with the exposure comes a darker response. Amelia's phone rings constantly, each call bringing more threats, more warnings. "You think this ends with a few documents?" A voice on the other end growls. "You've started something you can't control. You won't get away with it." Fear grips her for a split second, but she forces herself to breathe. This is what she signed up for. "I'll handle it," she says to Jared, determination returning to her voice. "We've only just begun." Despite the threats and the growing danger, Amelia feels something shift within her. The truth is out, and there's no turning back. As the backlash grows, powerful figures begin to play their hand. A meeting is called by the highest-ranking officials in the city, people with enough influence to silence anyone. "We need to stop her before she gets more people on her side," one of them says, his voice sharp and calculating. The group, once unified in their corruption, is now divided by fear of exposure. The politician, whose life has been built on lies, sits in the corner of the room, brooding. His allies argue about the next steps. Suppress the truth, discredit Amelia, or, as one of them proposes, remove the source entirely. But the Velvet Blade, a figure in the shadows, speaks up. "She's a threat, but she's also a tool," they say, their voice calm yet menacing. "We don't destroy her yet. We use her. Let her ignite the flames, and then we control them." The others nod, a dangerous consensus forming in the room. Back at her apartment, Amelia sits with Jared, going through the flood of messages, emails, and warnings. Suddenly, a message from a trusted ally pops up on her phone. "Meet me at the usual place. I've got what you need." Amelia's heart skips. "This could be it," she says, her voice tight with anticipation. But when they arrive at the location, a familiar figure steps out of the shadows, someone she thought she could trust, someone who had promised to help. "What's going on?" Amelia asks, confusion spreading across her face. The figure's smile doesn't reach their eyes. "I'm sorry, Amelia," they say softly, "but this is where I have to walk away." Amelia's blood runs cold as they hand her a folder, the contents of which shake her to the core. Inside there's a series of photographs, her, Jared, even Harris, surveilled for months. The people she thought were on her side have turned, and the trap is now set. "You didn't know what you were getting into," the figure says. "And now, neither do I." The reality of what's happening sets in. The people closest to Amelia, her friends, her allies, are all being watched. Her father, once a pillar of support, is silent. She confronts him one last time. "What is this, Dad?" she demands, her voice rising with a mix of anger and desperation. "Did you set me up? Is this all some kind of game to you?" He looks at her with a mixture of regret and fear. "I had no choice, Amelia. They're everywhere. They'll destroy us if we don't play along." Amelia's heart aches, but she holds her ground. "I'm not playing their game anymore," she says, walking away from him. "I'm going to bring this all down. Storm is coming. The fight for justice isn't just about exposing the corrupt. It's about surviving the consequences. Amelia's resolve has hardened, but she knows the cost will be high. Amelia stands on the edge of a rooftop, staring out at the city below. The weight of her decisions presses down on her. She knows there's no going back. The world has taken notice, and now the time has come for the final act. It's all or nothing, she whispers to herself. Jared joins her on the roof, his face shadowed by uncertainty. "You're sure about this?" he asks, his voice steady but filled with concern. Amelia turns to him, her expression resolute. "We've come this far. There's no turning back now." The sound of sirens fills the air as they both look out at the city, a symbol of the chaos they're about to ignite. Amelia takes a deep breath, knowing that once they expose the last piece of the puzzle, there will be no place to hide. The consequences are coming. "We do this, and the whole system comes down," she says, determination settling in. "And no one will stop us." The weeks that follow are a blur of constant pressure. The media is relentless, following every move Amelia and her team make. But it's not just the media. They've made enemies, and now those enemies are making their move. Amelia receives a chilling message one evening, sent anonymously. "You don't know who you're playing with. You're in over your head." She sits in silence, staring at the message for what feels like an eternity. Despite the threats, she refuses to back down. But as the days pass, more and more pieces of her life begin to crumble. Her friends grow distant, her family is under scrutiny, and even her closest allies are showing signs of fear. Jared pulls her aside one evening. "We need to be careful, Amelia. We're not just risking our lives anymore. We're risking everything." Amelia meets his gaze, unwavering. "I've already made that choice," she replies, her voice a mixture of conviction and fear. "And I'm not going to stop now. I can't." But deep inside, Amelia feels the pressure mounting. How long can they keep going before the truth catches up with them? The investigation takes a dark turn when one of their key allies is arrested under suspicious circumstances. Harris, who had been their greatest resource, suddenly becomes a target. Amelia and Jared receive a phone call in the dead of night, and when they pick up, all they hear is silence. It's not until they hear sirens in the distance that they realize something is wrong. Amelia immediately drives to the location, her heart racing. When they arrive, they find Harris, handcuffed and surrounded by police, his face a mask of defiance. "You can't silence the truth," he says to Amelia, his voice hoarse. They think they've won, but they haven't. But his words don't reassure her. Instead, they confirm her greatest fear. The people they're up against will stop at nothing to destroy them. Amelia watches as Harris is taken away, her stomach sinking. "We can't lose him," she whispers. But it's clear that in this game, no one is safe. The situation escalates when a mysterious figure contacts Amelia with an offer, information that could help them dismantle the entire network of corrupt officials. The catch? The figure demands something in return, a favor to be called in later. Amelia knows that they're already in too deep to back out. "It's the only way forward," Jared says, but there's an undeniable tension in his voice. Amelia doesn't like the deal, but the chance to end this, to bring everything to light, is too tempting. "We don't have a choice," she says, her tone firm despite her misgivings. The deal is made, and the next day, they receive the files. But as they read through them, it becomes clear. The corruption runs deeper than they imagined. The files include names, dates, and details about deals that span decades. And yet, there's still something missing, something that could expose the entire operation. They just have to find it. Amelia can feel the walls closing in as she realizes what they're truly up against. And she knows that this favor they've agreed to is a step into an even darker world. With the files in hand, Amelia prepares to meet the press. The information they have now could bring the whole operation crashing down. But the moment she steps into the room, the air changes. She feels like she's walking into a trap, and the weight of the cameras and reporters in the room makes her heart race. She takes a deep breath before stepping to the podium, Jared standing at her side. The questions begin immediately, fast and unforgiving. How do you justify your accusations? Who are your sources? Why should we believe you? The pressure mounts, but Amelia remains calm, answering each question with precision. She holds up the files, letting the weight of the truth speak for itself. But as the questions keep coming, one reporter asks a question that shakes her to the core. How far are you willing to go, Amelia? How much of yourself are you willing to sacrifice to bring down the system? The words hit her harder than she expected. She realizes that they aren't just asking about the truth, they're asking about her. Her life. Her family. Cost of justice. Amelia swallows hard, her gaze hardening. Everything, she says, her voice steady. I'll sacrifice everything for the truth. The final battle looms. With the files exposed to the press, Amelia and her team have triggered the response they feared. The powerful figures in charge are coming after them. But Amelia is ready. She's made the decision to face them head-on, no matter the cost. She gathers her team, including Jared and Harris, who's been released under mysterious circumstances. It's time, she says. We end this now. They move through the shadows, breaking into one final location. A secure government building, home to the last piece of evidence that will bring everything crashing down. But as they infiltrate the building, they are met with an unexpected turn of events. The security system is down. The files are gone. And standing in front of them is someone they never thought they'd face, the Velvet Blade. You've been playing a dangerous game, Amelia, the figure says coldly. And now it's over. But Amelia isn't backing down. It's not over until we say it is, she replies, her voice unwavering. And with that, the final showdown begins. The tension in the air is suffocating. Amelia and her team stand face to face with the Velvet Blade, the final line of defense between them and the truth they've fought so hard to expose. The figure before them is calm. Too calm. You really think you can tear down everything we've built? The Velvet Blade asks, a hint of amusement in their voice. Amelia steps forward, the weight of their journey pressing down on her shoulders. It's already been done, she replies firmly, her voice unwavering. We've exposed the lies, the manipulation, the corruption. It's only a matter of time before the truth catches up with you. The Velvet Blade doesn't flinch. You're wrong. You don't know who you're up against. A flicker of doubt crosses Amelia's mind, but she shakes it off. They've come too far. They've sacrificed too much. We know exactly who we're up against, she says, and it's over. But even as the words leave her lips, Amelia realizes that this is just the beginning of a new battle. The fight for justice will not end here. It will continue long after the dust settles. Amelia's heart races as the Velvet Blade steps forward, their hand reaching into their coat. For a moment, everything slows down. And then the figure pulls out a phone, holding it out for Amelia to see. You want the truth? You really want it all? They ask. Amelia's eyes widen in disbelief as she sees a video playing on the phone. Her father, in a private conversation with the corrupt officials they've been trying to expose. The betrayal cuts deep, the weight of her father's involvement crashing down on her all over again. No, Amelia whispers, her voice shaking with the realization. This can't be true. The Velvet Blade watches her with cold, calculating eyes. You never really knew who you were fighting, did you, Amelia? They say softly. Your father was always part of this. And you were just a pawn in his game. Amelia's vision blurs, the world spinning around her as she processes the new revelation. Her entire life, her trust in her father, shattered in a single moment. But amidst the chaos, one thing remains clear: she will not let this betrayal stop her. She can't. The revelation leaves Amelia reeling, but she knows that showing weakness will only give her enemies the upper hand. The Velvet Blade watches her carefully, waiting for her reaction. Amelia's hands are clenched into fists as she stares at the phone, her mind racing. For a moment, she wonders if it's all worth it, the pain, the loss, the betrayal. But then she remembers everything she's fought for, her family, her friends, the truth. You won't win, she says, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. You're not the one in control anymore. The velvet blade's smirk falters for a fraction of a second. You really think you can take down this empire with a few documents and your righteous anger? They ask, their voice growing colder. You've already lost. But Amelia's eyes flash with determination. No, she replies, we've already won. And with that, she turns away from the velvet blade, signaling to Jared and Harris. The time for talking is over. It's time for action. Amelia and her team move quickly through the building, now a well-oiled machine of resistance. The documents they've collected, the evidence they've uncovered, all of it is about to come to a head. But the building is swarming with security, and every step they take brings them closer to a confrontation. As they approach the final door, Amelia takes a deep breath. This is it. She reaches for the door handle, but just before she opens it, she hears footsteps approaching. We have to move now, Jared says urgently. The three of them exchange a glance, then burst into the room. Inside, a bank of computers is running, each one storing critical information. Amelia walks to the nearest terminal, her hands steady as she begins downloading the files. This is it, she says softly. This is where it all ends. But as the files download, the lights flicker, and a loud alarm blares. We've been made, Harris shouts, grabbing Amelia's arm. They don't stop. The files are almost finished transferring when the door slams open, and security storms in. The final showdown is here. Amelia feels a surge of adrenaline. This is the moment they've been preparing for. Amelia and her team narrowly escape the building, the files in hand, but not without consequences. The authorities are closing in, and their escape is fraught with danger. As they make their way to the safe house, Amelia can't help but think of the journey ahead. The truth is out, but the fight is far from over. We did it, Jared says, panting, his voice full of awe. We actually did it. But Amelia knows that this is only the beginning. We've exposed the system, she replies, but it's not over until they're held accountable. The real work starts now. As they look out over the city from the safe house, Amelia feels a mixture of relief and fear. The battle for justice has just begun. And no matter how difficult the journey ahead will be, Amelia knows one thing for sure. She will see it through to the end. The fire of change has been ignited, and there's no going back. The dust has settled, but the world is far from quiet. The news is filled with stories of corrupt officials being arrested, of businesses and political figures brought to justice, and of the city bracing for more revelations. But even with these victories, Amelia feels a strange emptiness. The Plugvik victory doesn't erase the scars of the journey. She watches the news coverage, her eyes glued to the screen as one of the corrupt officials is led away in handcuffs. It's happening, Jared says, standing behind her. They're being held accountable. But Amelia doesn't reply. The faces of those she's lost, those who have betrayed her, keep flashing before her eyes. We've exposed the lies, but we've also lost something, she finally says, her voice tinged with sorrow. I've lost more than I expected. The truth has come to light, but the consequences of uncovering it weigh heavily on her heart. Despite the media frenzy, something doesn't sit right with Amelia. She's gone through the files, the documents, the confessions, yet one name keeps popping up in the background, a shadowy figure who has remained untouchable. The Velvet Blade. The orchestrator. The one pulling the strings from behind the scenes. We've exposed the puppets, Amelia says to Jared. But the puppet master is still out there. The name haunts her every step. This isn't over, she mutters to herself. Not until we bring them down. They need to find the real mastermind, the one who controlled everything from the start. But as they dig deeper, the more elusive the figure becomes. Each lead turns into a dead end, and each person they question becomes more guarded. Amelia realizes that this fight is far from over, it's just entered a new, more dangerous phase. The truth they uncovered was only the tip of the iceberg. The closer Amelia and her team get to the truth, the more dangerous the world around them becomes. One evening, as they prepare to meet with another informant, they find their safe house compromised. The door is ajar, and a strange sense of dread fills the room. "They've found us," Jared whispers, his voice taut with fear. Amelia's heart races as she scans the room, every corner, every shadow. The safe house that once felt like a sanctuary now feels like a trap. They move quickly, gathering their things. But it's too late. The informant is nowhere to be found, and all their leads have gone cold. As they make their way out, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoes behind them. Someone is following them, someone who knows exactly what they're after. "We need to disappear," Amelia says, her voice shaky but resolute. "We've crossed a line, and now there's no going back." The darkness of the world they've entered closes in around them, and they realize just how far they've fallen. With no safe place left to turn, Amelia makes a bold decision, one final gamble. She reaches out to a figure she once thought she could never trust, someone whose loyalty has always been in question. The former official, now hiding under a different identity, has information on the Velvet Blade. "This is it," Amelia says to Jared. "We meet with them tomorrow. If they have what we need, we end this. If not, we disappear." The risk is enormous. The Velvet Blade is still out there, and every step they take brings them closer to exposure. The meeting place is set, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Amelia knows this could be their last shot at bringing down the true mastermind. But with the stakes higher than ever, she wonders if they're ready to face the consequences of what they might find. Inside the warehouse, Amelia and Jared meet the informant, but as they speak, the air grows heavy with tension. The figure is shrouded in secrecy, their voice barely audible above the sound of distant traffic. "You've come far," the informant says, "but you're not the only ones who know what's happening." Amelia's eyes narrow. "What do you mean?" she asks, her voice tight. The figure leans forward. "You've been played, Amelia. The Velvet Blade. They're closer than you think." The informant slides a folder across the table, and as Amelia opens it, she finds photographs. Photos of her family, even Jared. The realization hits her like a punch to the gut. "You were part of this the whole time," she whispers. But the figure only smiles. "I was always a pawn in their game too. But now, it's your turn." Before they can react, the doors slam shut. Figures emerge from the shadows, and the real trap is revealed. Amelia and Jared are surrounded. The fight for justice has turned into a fight for their lives. Amelia and her team are trapped in the warehouse, surrounded by masked figures. The Velvet Blade finally steps out of the shadows, revealing their role in manipulating the entire situation. "You've been played," the Velvet Blade sneers. Amelia's heart sinks as the full scope of the betrayal is revealed. "It's not over until I say it is," she retorts, standing firm despite the overwhelming odds. With everything at stake, Amelia knows they can't stop now, no matter how dire things seem. Amelia sprints toward the fire alarm, triggering the sprinklers to disrupt the attackers. As the figures retreat, the Velvet Blade steps forward, taunting her. But Amelia isn't intimidated. "We've already won," she declares. With the room now flooded, Amelia and Jared rush toward the exit, narrowly avoiding the final trap. Amelia realizes the full extent of her betrayal when she's shown a video of her father's involvement with the corrupt system. "You were just a pawn," the Velvet Blade taunts. Amelia's heart breaks as the truth crashes down, but she refuses to let it stop her. "I'm not your pawn," she retorts, her voice full of fire. With the sprinklers going off and the chaos escalating, Amelia, Jared, and Harris narrowly escape the warehouse. The final showdown is nearing, but the danger isn't over. As they flee into the night, Amelia knows they have just begun to fight for justice, no matter the cost. The corruption is exposed, but the aftermath is far from peaceful. Amelia, though physically safe, is left with the realization that the battle for justice continues. "We've won," Jared says, "but it's not over." Amelia nods, her eyes focused on the future. "It's only just begun."